Trigger warning. The following program includes conversation around and relating to sexual assault and sexual violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Coming up on Kofi and Beenz.
He went from his name being Dad to actually having a first name, because I'm like, oh,
he's a human being.
This is a man with range.
The one thing I really do wish they emphasized and they taught us a lot about was how to manage money.
Anyway, guys, casual sex is very challenging in this season.
Hold on.
To hug, this is the tangent.
This is an Avocado Media presentation.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Whatever We Have in Stock Are Us, your one-stop place to shop for whatever we happen to have lying around at the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary shit. You know what? It's actually much easier if we just call you friends. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, hey, friends. How you doing?
Welcome to Coffee and Beans, your weekly breakfast show, hosted by me, Beans, and our girl,
and me,
Coffee.
Coffee.
This week, we are in a beautiful location we will not reveal to you quite yet. Possibly because of...
I mean, should we ever?
I don't know. Nah, they need to put us in a bag. We're not giving free advertising.
Exactly. Let's just so you know who you are.
Yeah,
hit us up.
That's true. And we are in the heart of summer. Everything is hot. If you own a bottle of coconut oil, you will see that it is now constantly in liquid form.
Yeah, all the time, never solid. But I feel like it's the best form, so...
I personally cannot understand anyone on God's green planet and Beyonce's internet who consciously makes the choice of preferring summer to winter.
I feel attacked.
Let's do this.
I feel heavily attacked.
Are you a summer person?
I am a summer person. I'm an October baby.
Oh gosh.
So this is I'm in my element.
Bodyguards of Satan. I do not understand.
We're badass. That's how come we're bodyguards of Satan.
Listen.
Flip everything.
And this is consistent because which is strange because the one true act, it's not the one true act. Anyway, guys, casual sex is very challenging in this season.
Hold on.
To hug, this is the tangent.
That's a very heavy tangent.
This is the only one I can...
Okay, cool.
Can you cuddle? Can you cuddle in this season?
You can cuddle. Just make sure you're in an air-conditioned room.
Look at all these different... There's so many moving parts.
Listen, if our architecture put into, if they actually thought about how our climate, is, they would have created housing that's cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. It's not my fault.
All goes back to colonialism.
Exactly. Yes. It's all. Listen.
They did not think of the black man's condition.
They really did. They just built the houses.
This is the problem.
And this is really the problem. Yeah.
What's new with you, friend?
Nothing much, actually.
Oh. Well, I'm going to bogart this situation.
It's cool. Go ahead.
I recently, this is possibly maybe 2 weeks later, I recently was given a brand new nephew.
Oh!
Very exciting stuff.
Hi, Uncle B.
Hey, friend. What's good? Yeah, we really need the bag to level up because I'm not trying to be a broke uncle. So guys.
Yeah. Listen, I feel you because I have a 6-year-old niece specifically that keeps asking for things.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's not even always impossible shit.
And I'm always wondering. I'm like, how do you skip your parents? And then you come and ask me.
But to be fair, I think that's the entire fun and excitement around the uncle-auntie industrial complex. I don't know where that's from. But basically is you're just ideally supposed to be the go-to for... obviously it goes parents, grandparents, but uncle and auntie is somewhere in between.
It really is. And it kind of feels like the things that everyone's going to say no to, I'm going to come to you and ask because you rarely ever get me stuff. So it's like you can't say no.
I think also because we have the shape of a parent with the fun of the non-commitment part,
exactly. So I can spoil you and then take you back home.
That is true. So I'm an uncle and this is what's new, and for some reason, this made me, not even for some reason, for what I feel is an obvious one, is it put me into the idea of what child rearing is. He's my brother. We have 6 years in between us, which doesn't really feel like that at some point. I think past when you just leave your teens, you sort of, in your 20s especially, your 20s, 26, when you're younger, obviously, you know, if
Like
you're
the
5
gap
and he's
is
11,
felt.
it's, yeah.
I don't know, because like there's 6 years between my older sister and I, and
Oh, really?
like I kind of still feel the
Do you?
difference. Yeah.
Oh, girl,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you there again.
I think because I'm a little childish.
Oh, you know, it's okay. You said it, and so it's okay.
Listen, there's no need to suppress your inner child. This is what I'm saying. Let her out, let him out. That's where the creativity comes from.
This is true. So,
But like, yeah.
it's made me look at what parenting is for the modern parent, and all the things and constructs that we grew up on. I am a 90s kid, so think Voltron at 16 hours, think Passions at 18, think porridge, think Christmas clothes, think toy drinks. That was my era.
Toy drinks.
So that was the time. It was, you have to eat it, you have to nibble at the bottom.
At the bottom, yes.
And
Never
then
open it at the top.
what
Because, like,
is the
who
point?
where are you from?
What are you doing?
Who are you?
So like, we look at all the things, and I always wonder how people here will do it differently. I think I've noticed generally, if you open your Facebook, if you're anywhere in your mid to late 20s, you're seeing that your peers are now getting married and getting pregnant on purpose.
That is, it's important. Actually, it's important that you made that distinction. Yeah.
Because pregnancies were happening, just not really quite planned. But now it's happening there, and I was very curious, is what are the things that you feel the boomers, and I want to say Gen X, I don't know who came before us. Like, what
X.
was it? Yeah, that was
X,
them, right?
yes, 'cause
I don't
we're
know how,
Y.
that's how the opposite, I don't know.
We're Y.
We're
The ones
millennials,
that
darling.
No, that's Gen Y.
Oh, is that how
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Sorry, you actually didn't finish that thought.
How do you think they fucked us up?
See, now I'm afraid to speak.
It's
My mother's gonna hear this and she's gonna be like, "Oh my god!"
Look, mine probably too at some point. She's gonna find this link.
At some point,
She's gonna find this.
actually, because I've put them on my socials.
I
it's over for me.
don't. They're gonna know.
Okay, I wouldn't say fuck this up with the quote unquote mistake I'm about to lay out there. I'm just gonna say the one thing I really do wish they emphasized and they taught us a lot about was how to manage money. Because I'm struggling. I'm having to learn all of these things now. Okay. And yeah, it's not late, but I feel like if I had the knowledge about how money works and how I can use money not just to buy things, but to grow wealth, basically, I feel like I'd be in a better financial position right now.
Do you feel this is specific to? Because Mama Kofi about to catch us up. Do you feel this is specific to you? Do you think this is a generational like situation? Do you find it in your peers as well?
I feel like it's a generational situation because I feel like aside from, I'm not sure what grade, was it even a grade where we started to learn about like stocks and bonds and there was like no, we had no money management class. That's a lie. That's all in my head. I don't even remember where I came across this information and at what point. It was like business studies, I think, in grade 11. Or somewhere there.
Was that formerly bookkeeping or office practice in any point?
Okay, I switched a lot. I had started out in bookkeeping, which doesn't also necessarily teach you how to manage money. It's just like,
I just remember what a liability is and an asset.
Basically.
And the balance sheet.
Basically.
Not sure where to use those right now.
And then from there, I think I did... what's the other one that was paired with? It was like, if you're not doing bookkeeping, you're doing...
Office practice was for me?
Was it office practice?
I do need to say, with no snobbery involved. However, if you do catch an L, a stray, that's up to you.
Okay, cool.
I've just come into the idea that we lurk amongst a lot of people who did physical sciences, and all y'all barely deserve human rights. Because why don't you know what titration is? Why have you never seen a Bunsen burner? Why do you have no clue what a meniscus is?
That's not our fault.
What was the point of your education?
I mean, that's a good question, but you should ask the educators and the people that structured the educational system.
This is why we have bad governance in
Okay,
Africa.
seriously, he's got a point. He's got a very, very strong point.
So financial literacy?
Financial literacy, I feel like could have been a little more, focused on. I had a whole list of things. I don't know why I'm blanked.
That's totally fine. Just
let's go back and forth.
That's very. I only have like one. I mean, there are a couple, but for me, as I feel and what I've seen, the turn in also time that has happened is that I think there's a big crisis of emotional intelligence, and
facts, especially amongst the men.
Yo,
bro,
strays.
I'm sorry,
right
but
here,
it's
bro.
true. It's true.
You're not wrong, but I mean, jeez, bro.
It is so sad to see. I feel like we should have classes, but it is so sad to see.
I mean, and you also wonder what those things stem from.
I think
I think a lot of us have heard the structure of it, but I know a lot of niggas who have daddy issues, and it's really, granted they're not on a stripper pole, it's quite prominent in our culture. It really, I mean, at least clap a cheek on the stage if you're gonna be that emotionally mismanaged, bro. Like, I don't know.
I literally only met Beenz here. I have not known him for as long as this is like a very new relationship.
She brought me here. This is the choice that she made. I did not know. But genuinely, that is a real prominent issue. Is I wonder about the ingredients that go into making a boy a decent, well-adjusted, well-meaning man. I think a lot of the things that our parents in that generation came from was, you need to look at their scars, because I remember, I'm gonna just say this forthright and probably should have in the inaugural episode, a lot of the things and pearls of wisdom that I sort of move in the world come from my mother's Bemba sayings, Stevie Nicks lyrics, and Twitter, because Twitter does have the entire range of human being. It has a Trump, it has a bigot, it has Republicans, it has Rihanna. There's every human type of person there. And I remember seeing a tweet that said, you need to forgive your parents because they were learning too. They came from a very, worrying space where they didn't know what affection was. A lot of people were raised with a whip on the table and sort of just replicated a lot of those things that have a lot of their traumas. I was thinking the other day how COVID is pretty big for us, because everyone at this point knows someone who died or lost someone very important to this pandemic, and they had HIV, which came so rampantly, and Africa, which is sort of the butt of this South Park joke that we just have malaria, AIDS, and flies on our faces. And so they have all these different sets of things and traumas to deal with. And so those are the things that they brought forward to like make these misshapen men who roam the streets and, I'm sure advance onto you in Chicago's. But what would that be? What would the new template be for a 34-year-old who's raising a boy in 2021? So that's where my thing is.
Okay, let me just... Okay.
You could do add-ons. I'm not even mad. You could piggyback. You see, that seemed to hit you like in a specific way. I don't know. Because I've been boys caught astray out here just...
No, but
I'm just sitting here minding my, chilled business, and you're out here telling me that I don't have necessarily spectrum of emotion.
But I don't mean you specifically. You're doing doing great.
I'm hurt.
You're doing great,
It's
Beans.
cool.
You're doing
I can
fantastic.
be garbage sometimes. I can take it. I'll be cool with that.
I feel like one of the biggest things we need to pick up on when boys are growing up is, first of all, emotional intelligence. The basis is understanding your own emotions. Okay? And for you to be able to understand your emotions, you need to be able to recognize and name your emotions. Okay? So the whole boys don't cry, little man, yada yada yada, trying to a degree, like, if he needs to cry, let him cry. Encourage him to figure out what he's feeling, why he's feeling it. You know, as little as, you know, as soon as they are old enough to vocalize what they're feeling. So teach them to recognize those feelings. What am I feeling? I'm sad. Why are you sad? Okay. From there, okay, this is what's happened. This is what's making you sad. Why is it making you sad? Okay, how do we fix this? Because that's how you teach people how to manage their emotions. They learn to figure out what they're feeling, and they learn how to move within those feelings or figure out a solution to make themselves, I don't know, feel better or whatever. Okay. And I feel like, as small as that seems, it does make a great impact in adulthood.
It really does.
Because this is where you meet a man that is upset but won't tell you that he's upset. John, you're angry. No, I'm fine. But he doesn't want to lend you 20 kwacha.
Oh, okay. I mean, I just feel like this is, you brought in the bag now, and you've given me much to unpack now.
No, I just feel like it was like the easiest.
That was.
It was like the easiest example. It was like the first one that came to my head. There really isn't anything to unpack there.
I feel you've given some seeds for a separate type of situation, and you have to deal with that. And your mentions, I can neither endorse nor complain. I don't know what I don't know.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying there's nothing to unpack, but sure. We can always try and take it apart. But yeah, I feel like that's, you know, it's stuff like that you need to be able to teach your kids. And also I feel like it's important for them to see their parents. You know, we grew up looking at our parents as like demigods of sorts. And mom, dad can do no wrong. They feel no pain. They're superheroes. They are invincible. But I feel like if you learn that, and I learned this pretty late, I learned it really late. But I feel like if you learn that, you know, even mom and dad have low moments, and it's, you know, I'm sad today because this and that and that. It shows them that it's okay to be open about their emotions and their feelings. And that goes a long way.
I can give a nod to that. I can count the number of times I've seen my father cry, probably. I mean, the number is not low.
The fact that you've even seen your dad cry.
But I think it's very important. I think it made me structure the concept of tears as something that everyone can do. And like you're saying, he went from his name being dad to actually having a first name, because I'm like, he's
a human being.
He's a man with range for pretty much every type of thing. But my question also is, do you think emotional intelligence can be learned?
I think yes, very much so.
Yeah?
You just have to be willing to learn.
That's true.
Because no willingness to learn, you're gonna be the same stubborn old John. I don't know, I keep saying John, but yeah.
John, if you out there, my nigga, bro.
So love.
It's okay. This is a safe spot. We hope you're good. We hope you grow. We hope you grow out here just throwing shots, my G.
I'm sorry, John. It comes from a place of love.
Left and right.
It comes from a place of love.
Kofi and Beenz will return after the break.
Explore the world of psychological thriller within you. From the makers of the Pan-African Party comes a gripping, chilling journey. Coming soon to the Avocado Media Network. Subscribe on YouTube and Patreon.
Are you a fan of classic African music? Well, we have just the thing for you. Coming soon to the Avocado Media Network is the Pan-African Party. The Pan-African Party is a weekly celebration of African music hosted by critics. Keep an eye on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages for more news. The Pan-African Party, celebrating African excellence.
Welcome back to Kofi and Beenz.
Speaking on child rearing, I think a big notable point of it that we're going to speak on later is, they spoke about the boys will be boys dogma and everything around that. We do see how that has played a very significant role in our social issues. Just this past week, if not the week prior, if my memory serves me correctly, there was the Women's March both here in Lusaka and also on the Copper Belt.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. We're very glad to be with one of the hearts of the movement who will be joining us in a little bit to spread a little light on
Very
that.
smart woman.
A very, very smart woman. And come and just join us and put us through the process of that. I've never known what goes into I went to Unza.
But you're like the pioneers.
This is the thing. I wouldn't say so much we organize marches.
They just happened? Is this what you're saying? It was just like we're marching, boom, out.
Look, granted there'd always be the trigger, which is, we haven't been paid to eat. Like, what's that about, bro? Yo, guys, let's hit up Grady's for real quick, and then it's done.
We should all be like an UNZA student, truly. The
We'll
whole,
not
the
lie.
whole group of... Listen, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a very interesting, it's a formative experience.
Sometimes I feel like, I probably should have gone to UNZA. I almost did, but
It's a cute time.
sounds like a fun time.
You kind of, someone's running after you with tear gas. And the first few ones are very, very
Okay, I don't know how you guys survived that because I've been through, it was just in passing. I was on a bus. And then the tear gas, just kind of, flowed into the bus and
It's a
just my
vibe.
eyes. I was just like, these people do this?
on
often.
the reg. Yeah.
They just, oof,
It was an energy.
my God.
It was an adventure.
But anyhow,
The adrenaline, it was thrilling. It was a very beautiful time. In studio on the bench, if that's what we're going to call it,
in studio on the bench, I like that.
we are joined by the wonderful Anita K. Holland. Can I do the full name?
Yeah,
Are you comfortable with that?
We could give you an alias.
We could.
Oh yeah.
We really could.
What alias would you give me?
What alias would
Since it's Beenz, Kofi, can we call it Toffee?
we?
I hate toffee.
What?
It's so hard to eat and it gets stuck in your teeth.
How do you feel about caramel?
That's exactly where I was
It's
going.
even sweeter, to be honest.
Yeah.
You're
Red
making this
hair,
difficult.
we
But it's
could
okay in
say
popcorns.
the crimson, because it's red. The crimson warrior. Are you like an
I feel like that's
combative
actually
person?
fitting.
Can I be just the red witch?
Oh, there we
yes,
go.
yes, love
That
it.
happens.
Love it.
It's a nice nod to Game of Thrones. We are joined on the bench in studio by
The Red
Red
Witch.
Witch.
Yes.
She is here. So lovely for you to join us. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad
I'm
you
sorry.
could
I'm
make the time.
awkward when it comes to
It's totally fine. We're gonna.
This
we'll-
is where we
podcast.
embrace awkwardness.
This is
So it's
true.
cool.
It's a safe
you.
circle from
you.
this. So, the Red Witch, will I refer to you as the Red Witch throughout the entire procession?
and Anita, whichever.
I really don't know if I have the range for that. Y'all overestimate how smart I am. I'm going to forget that in 2 seconds. So Anita is one of the many voices. I don't even know how many. I don't know the full extent of everything that you have done so far. Full disclosure, we met a really long time ago. We've been new. We share a spiritual child,
Yeah.
yet to be named, yet to be gendered.
In 5 years.
So
It's gonna happen.
you're just out here having babies with everybody?
It seems.
Or-
Listen, guys. I feel as though there shouldn't be a limit on how many times you can
Wow.
counterproduce.
Wow.
It's 2021. What are the rules?
She's
Says
about
the
to say
person
something
not
very
carrying the
problematic.
baby. What were you gonna say?
No, it's fine.
It could.
It's
It could
okay.
be cut out. We don't know.
I was gonna say you're out here sounding like, the boomer men.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Look at... The work has been undone.
Wow, I know.
The work has been undone.
But no, they're coming back, right? With Nick Cannon and what's that other guy
Nick
who just
Cannon.
had like
I don't know
baby
what
number
Nick
8?
Cannon is on, man.
That's pretty creepy, to be honest.
Nick Cannon is
No cap. I kind of read somewhere he was trying to like get like a kid so that they can do a bone marrow. I heard it's a lot going on.
Really?
There's
All
a
those
lot.
kids?
Apparently.
Up to now, he doesn't have his bone marrow.
I can neither confirm, deny, or support. But we are here with Anita, and we're very glad that we are. I've thought for a while that this is your bag. This is activism for women's rights. Is that something that you do truly vocationally, or is that also part of the work that you do to survive?
Until last year, it's 100% the work I do to survive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you get into specifically activism? I mean, people often think, it stands to reason, as a woman you should be fighting for your rights, but there are a lot of I've seen some heavily uncomfortable, problematic things come out of someone whose rights are being fought for on this very same basis. So if you could...
It's a very... I don't even know how I can say it. But Malala, right? The Pakistani
Yes.
activist, right? I remember when I was, I think, 19 or 20, I watched her documentary, which is like, I Am Malala. And I remember just sitting there and I'm like, wait, she said when she was 13 and she got shot by the Taliban. And she never, because if you shoot me, I'm done.
Sure.
Like, you will never see me again.
Correct.
No, maybe I will. Maybe now I will. Back then, you would never see me, right? So I just felt like if her at 13, 16, she was like fighting the Taliban and me with all my back then I was like, Zambia is such a peaceful and great country for women. So what is it that I'm doing? I could do something. And that's how I actively joined, because I just felt like I needed to do something. Yeah.
At that point, had you noticed the need for this type of movement? Did you feel like women were living in a suppressive time in our country?
Back then, it was like, I was just starting out with my feminism, right? Of course, from the time I was young, you'd see the most very subtle forms of misogyny. Back then, they seemed subtle. Until now, you go up and realize that's extremely fucked up, right? Can I say that here?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So anyway, what happened then? Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is whether or not you had seen a need for the particular...
Oh yeah, back then I just thought the biggest issue was sexual violence. I didn't see everything else. It's only when I got deep into it that I realized wow, the whole system is fucked up. And we need to throw out everything. Burn it up.
Okay, so this past week?
It's been a week. It's been a week.
We had the Women's March both in Lusaka and on the Copper Belt as well, which speaks to, I want to say, the span of the movement, or the networking of people who are leading in the movement. What goes into... Because, listen, Kofi did mention that the University of Zambia had demonstrations and quote-unquote marches. Those were demonstrations.
Those were demonstrations, not marches. Actually, yeah, we should have made that distinction.
A quiet, polite vandalism as well.
Exactly, because there was no organization whatsoever. It was like, you know what, you have hurt us, you have wronged us, you have not paid us our money, and we're gonna go out and make some noise. But obviously the marches are organized, okay? What goes into putting a march together, especially in two different towns?
First, you need a team, guys. Never do it alone. You would die of frustration, honestly. You basically need a team and kind of break it down, right? You need the guys who are going to focus on marketing, because when in the social media age, right? And marches aren't cheap, and it's hard to justify what people should fund, because people will literally look at you and say, why do you need a t-shirt? Why do you need a banner? Why do you need this and this and that? And they refuse to fund it, right? So you have to be extremely creative, and the background of any march is volunteers. Get as many volunteers as you can. Put them up in groups, put those in financing who are going to make sure they hound everyone for their money. Put those in marketing. and then put those who are like in charge of programming and how it should go, then be the actual person who's like the person that's forcing everyone else to work. It's not a nice thing to organize, really. If I could never organize a match in my life, I'd be very happy.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point that you guys are trying to.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
never ever a need for a march
ever again. Yeah.
Falling, that's a lot to do.
And the worst part is that because, like, you know, the way marches are like, if it was like, oh guys, let's have the march next year, August, right? We'll be like, okay, if we're having a march next year, August, we have a year to plan. But most marches are like, boom, let's have a march. And
really?
so you have like 2 weeks left to plan a march. And because the worst part is always financing, because everyone you go to is like, oh, we're not doing any social corporate responsibilities this month, our budget is done, oh no, we don't have money for this and that. And so the entire time it's just like literally stressing about money. Like for this match, I only got my funding Friday afternoon.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was
That's
literally
late.
using my money the entire time.
It's very late.
So, also, this time span is what I think is...
Yeah, because I've always thought they've been like planned well ahead of time.
Because you have
Probably, like,
numbers. That's you do pretty. That was
Exactly.
pretty well attended.
I've always just thought like at the beginning of the year, you know that in this month, around this time, we're gonna have a march.
No, like for this one, we're not even supposed to have a march because I remember, if you guys remember, like with like during the election time, there were so many girls who were coming out with their own stories, right? Someone literally DM'd me and she's like, Anita, we need to have a march. And I remember even typing and I'm like, fuck no, I am not going through that stress again, like especially if it's such short notice. And I was like, you know, why not? We didn't have a march this year, why not do it? After doing it 2 days later, I had a panic attack. I was like, I should have never said yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The strain of doing all this work has to be, because the thing that I've noticed about a lot of I don't know what category these fall under whenever it's racial equality or gender equality, which I almost feel are cousins of some kind.
Yeah.
Is a lot of type of hatred is spat in particular direction of whoever champions it the best, you know.
Yes.
Martin Luther had like a great deal of death threat. Well, the death threats came true, but it's a very sad, dark joke.
Wow.
But it's true, but it's all those things, and doubly so because feminists do get a very particular type. It's not just I want to kill you.
A very particular
It's
type
the
of
worst,
aggression.
honestly. There's the rape threats.
A lot.
There's the like people who stalk you. There's literally people who deny you jobs, opportunities, just because they hate what you say about women. So
Okay. How do you manage all of that? Being obviously you are technically the face of
Somehow, inadvertently,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, you know, it's not by coincidence that you're here. I mean, granted, you know, it's just another excuse to kind of like chill. I ain't gonna trip. But it's also like a lot of thing is you are quote unquote have somehow become that go-to identifier for feminist Zambian women. Like, how do you manage all of that?
I think right now it's like a lot of boundaries. Back then it was very, I don't know how I can explain it. It's not the nicest thing in the world. If you could be an activist and no one knows your name, your face, you'd be extremely happy. But it's like, it's very, like, there are certain things I even have to do, like even with the name thing, right? I had to move away to start using Anne professionally just for my safety. There's certain things I can't share, there's certain things I can't do. I can't even go out to certain places now, right? Because I'm extremely scared because of the women I work with. And then you'd find, I remember there was a time where there was like a lawsuit around waiting for me and they were just like, we need your address. And I'm like, you're not seeing me going anywhere. So for 2 months, I couldn't go anywhere, right? So it's honestly, there's nothing nice about it. You don't get paid. Okay, no, I now get paid for my feminist work. But back then, I wasn't getting paid for it. So there wasn't anything nice about it. The worst part is just like, it's the worst thing to happen to your mental health. So just create like healthy boundaries.
Okay. All right, so going back to the march, unfortunately, I haven't been able to attend any because I'm always either sick or can't leave the house for some reason.
Oh, wow.
Which is always frustrating, especially this last time. But I obviously from the outside looking in, I see obviously there has been growth. And one of my favorite things from this past March was being able to see how many men were taking part and very active in it and very vocal about it. Even on Twitter, because Twitter can be brutal.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see a lot of men take part in the women's movement. What specific things have you noticed in your growth that you truly love and appreciate? Is there anything that has stood out to you that is encouraging you in your movement?
You know, as a bitter, angry feminist, right, that men hate on social media.
Wait, is that in quotes? Bitter angry? Is that are we talking about your persona that people think you are, or is that how you identify?
I am an angry, bitter woman. Like, what is it about that's happening in the world for me to actually even be happy about, right? Back then, I was like, no, you guys are so nice. Like, I support men. But now I don't care. Like, I'm a bitter, angry feminist, right?
I was actually going to come to that. But you know what? Go on. I'll be back.
So, anyway, like in the beginning, right, would get like a lot of hate, and that would like really affect your day because you don't understand why you're like out here advocating for women and men hate you, they're insulting you, they're actively working against you, right? Then I don't know what happened. At some point last year, the Gen Z boys just flipped. Suddenly they were not misogynistic, suddenly it's like all the angry messages and tweets finally got to them, and they were learning and they were reading. They were like watching more videos, they were having more podcasts talking about women's rights. They suddenly changed and became better people. And so it's like we didn't change our message, we just continued, and eventually they listened. While the millennial boomers, Generation X, all stayed the same, these young boys just changed. And this is why like this is the third match I've been in. The first one I was just like a volunteer, then this was the second one I had planned, and this is the most we've ever seen guys actually attend. Like back then it would be like, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one they were just like they're everywhere. They're literally everywhere.
So my observation was on point.
There were quite a number of men this time.
I really enjoyed seeing that. Like all the photos.
I think there were more than 100 guys.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
Next year, more of you, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Bring your dads too.
A little bit.
Yes.
Could learn a thing or two. And it's so interesting because this also takes a nod back to the thing of how we're managing in our growth lately. I've noticed that as well, which is Gen Zs have a very like different from even how they don't even know homo when they hug. Like
yes, I noticed the I love yous.
They're very
a lot freer.
It's very sweet to see.
No, I say for my young brother and his friends, and it's so. Even how they say I love you, they will literally call each other sexy. They will do what, like there's just like they're like letting go of the toxic masculinity, and it's really cool to see.
I absolutely love it. It's beautiful.
Does that give you hope for the future in terms of?
Yeah, so much hope. It just makes me so happy knowing the older generation is gonna die and the new generation is. No, seriously.
No,
It's not live.
I know. It's just the way that it's phrased. It's just like wow.
No, like because now back then, right? Like when there would be all this social media backlash, right? You'd be there like fighting everyone. And you're fighting the Gen Z boys. You're fighting the older men. You're fighting the pygmies. You're fighting everyone. And now it's come to a point where like we can even chill and not even comment on anything because the Gen Z boys will come and fight everyone on your behalf, right? And those guys have no respect. They don't care if that's their father, their who. They will spend the whole day insulting these grown ass men. I'm like, it's fine. They're dying out, and these boys are taking over.
It's beautiful.
Oftentimes when we hear about feminist personality, feminist persona, and basically how they're presented, that always comes up very often. I remember seeing an interaction just recently where where people have a sense of entitlement to grace regarding how they are given the information on feminism, and it's always a thing. I mean, granted, it's also because of our culture. People always bring up why so many insults and why all that angry thing. And can you speak on the severity, like where that, like why that, how you feel about whether or not that's a valid argument that people, because I think you speak a very specific way, as do a lot of people who are communicating their anger is how would you respond to that? People who would want you to pretty it up and like honey dip it before you say it to them.
There's no nice way to ask for women's rights to be respected, honestly. You see it there's the nice feminists who will come in and say, you know what, let's support women's rights. And the whole day they'll be insulted. They just say it nicely, they'll be insulted. They'll be the angry type, they will still come and insult us. There's no nice way, honestly. You can't tell an oppressed group how to ask for their rights to be respected. And if you're a misogynist or if you're someone who refuses to understand inequality, whatever way someone's going to ask for their rights to be respected, you're going to hate it. So honestly, when I see that bullshit, and I'm just like, who didn't love you enough in your life for you to want me to come down from all the oppression I face every day, to come and hold your hand and make you understand gender equality and feminism? Like, I'm not your teacher that failed to teach you. Like, if your colonizers still force this whole patriarchal notion and you eat it up every day, you're going to die with that misery. And it's not me who's going to live here and try and make you try and understand it better, right? Like, it's so insulting. You perfectly understand how racism should be handled. You understand Black Lives Matter. You understand why people are rioting, but you don't understand why feminists are mad. And the worst part is that Black women consistently have to deal with this bullshit every day. We have to deal with racism, and on top of that, we also have to deal with misogyny, and we have to deal with Black misogyny. We have to deal with oppression from everywhere, and we should be the ones to making sure you feel better about feminism. Like, why should I package it well for you to understand inequality? I don't even need to speak nicely for you to be able to get it. So if you have a problem with my tone, ask yourself why tone is so important to you and not actual pressure. Yeah. So, fuck those people, really.
Nicely summed up.
Perfectly summed up. All right, so since we're on the topic of anger, very, I will say well-founded anger. It's very, very, you know what, the word is not coming. Do you think, I feel like I have a response of my own in my head, but do you think the tone with which you address especially people on social media would be different if they were more receptive to the message and more open to listening and to learning? No? There would still be an element of...
Like, do you know how it's like sometimes? You could be scrolling, having an amazing day, right? Then you see a story of how a 1-year-old girl was sexually abused by her father, and he used like charcoal, like a log of charcoal, to burn her through her vagina and kill her.
Jesus Christ.
So how am I supposed to articulate that emotion nicely?
Yeah.
You know? Like, these things come at you like it's so much information. You're literally, there's some days I hate Twitter because I'm just like, what am I going to see today? Who has been killed today? Who's been raped today? You know? And that's so much for a person.
True.
So you can't experience such form of, because the worst part about it is that when you read those stories, it's always, is it my day today? Like, I survived yesterday, am I going to survive today? You know, because it just happens at any moment.
Yeah.
So how can I perfectly share my emotions in a very nice and articulate way? So at that point, I'm always reacting according to how I feel as a person, as a woman, as a feminist. And I shouldn't have to like control my emotions and feelings, especially if I live in such a traumatic world. And anyone who demands that I speak nicely just goes to show how privileged they are. You have the privilege to speak nicely. I don't. You know, like there's sometimes you read stories of how girls reach out and she's like, oh, I got on a bus and from nowhere this bus driver just like drove somewhere and they raped me.
I remember that story.
So how exactly am I supposed to deal with that nicely? Hi everyone, so listen what happened today. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, fair.
Listening to this, I often say a little fun thing to myself sometimes, which is I was much happier before I followed some of like the people who live in my country, because it was I was on Twitter for comics and for bands and memes and just a good time. But sometime I remember very vividly during when Uyinene, was that her name? The girl in South Africa? the one who went to the post office and was and the guard hit, and that entire situation, and how when that came into the wave that it came into, Twitter was just a very sad time to be. I think a repeat happened when I think around that same era, because then the naming started beginning for local cases here, and I genuinely left. Like, I dipped for a minute, and I love Twitter. Like, Twitter's like my home.
I actually do
I
that
have
very
a good
often
time.
because
It can be.
the sadness is so consuming.
It is.
Yeah.
And it can be
Especially
very
because
difficult.
I don't know obviously what your experience is as a man, as a male, but like she said, as a woman, there's a feeling that this could be me.
Exactly.
This could, at any moment,
Exactly.
this could be me. And like the most recent one, the lady who was driven to Makeni and beaten and raped and robbed, that one took me apart in more ways than I can vocalize. It was a lot. And usually when stories like that, because obviously there's always this domino effect. One person speaks and then you have other people sharing their stories as well. I have moments where I'm just like, okay, Twitter for the next month, I'm out. I'm not doing this. Like, it's cool. Basically social media. Yeah. So, yeah.
So
I'm
that's-
sorry to...
That's fine, absolutely. But that's where I'm coming to, which is how do you decompress, leave, because you need to operate and still be a person. You need to wake up and go to your job the next day. You need to be someone's sister, someone's friend, how do you get away from all that to just, how do you breathe? How do you R&R so that you can function in the world as a normal human being?
Yeah, especially
Do you at
given
all?
Exactly, especially given the fact that people actually come to you with their stories
This is a
and
thing,
for
yeah.
assistance. It must be heavy.
It's very heavy. I think now it's almost, I don't know if it's a bad thing to say, but there are points where I'm extremely numb to it, right? So I've created these boundaries of, if you're my close friend, don't tell me. Because now that will fuck up my life. Like, that will literally give me nightmares, make me, I'll have panic attacks, I'll have anxiety. So if you're my friend and something happened to you, I will give you all the necessary, like, routes you should go to, but don't tell me. Like, I will love you, I will sit with you, but just literally don't tell me, right? Whereas with strangers, if it's someone online who tells me, I can easily cloak out. I can know this is like, oh, you're talking to Anne, the feminist witch. You're not necessarily talking to Anita, the person. So I feel like that's the only way I can cope with it. Back then, it would destroy my life, Like, I would get triggered, I would get what. Then I say becoming numb to it. So the event stories I refuse to participate in because I know I'm like, okay, this is a little too close to home. This situation is a bit too similar to this, so I don't want to like participate. And then at times when people reach out, it's like there's a whole community. So I'll literally say, like when people are like, oh, I have something to share, there's something that happened to me, I always say, this is not the perfect time for me, you're going to trigger me, so I would just move you to the next person who can handle it. So it's just like about creating boundaries. And it fucks up your entire life, but it's fine.
It sounds like it.
She says that with a smile on her face.
I mean, yeah, do it and you move on. One last added, the Taliban has returned to, Afghanistan and is kind of having a PR fest and having a good time. 601 girls in, was it Eastern Province, Chipata, I think, were dropped out of school because they were pregnant. If you were to get a direct line to women across the world in places where of severe oppression and basically zero human rights, because literally the Afghanistan women are disappearing back behind saris and can barely show their eyes and faces, what would you say to women like that, or possibly even to feminists who are, dormant or unenergized, if we were to put you as, Anita K. Castro, just kind of the red witch to the universe. It's kind of heavy, but I'm also just kind of curious who you would be if we gave you the instruments of power.
Honestly, like, I know this is very thing, but I'm extremely radical. I would literally go to war.
Oh, lit.
Literally go to war. If there was actually a war for gender justice, and we're like, let's get guns, and like, no doubt,
Yeah.
I'll be the first one with the gun. In fact, I don't like guns, so maybe give me arsenic.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Or
not where.
bombs.
That's
Give
not
me
where I
bombs.
was. Because I'm in my head. I'm thinking, I would want to run the witchcraft department because I feel like that's the best way to just.
I feel like witchcraft has let us down.
Truly, no, it has.
No, I'm
It
a witch,
honestly
but it's
has.
let us down.
Because
Up to now.
if you could use witchcraft to fight wars.
I mean, my main plan. I've obviously I have lower stakes in this, but like I do need to say, there's something. My favorite thing about witchcraft is the aesthetic of a coven, guys. It's quite strong.
Yeah, it is.
It's quite the hat. So like I always think about it every time I love that you call them covens. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing. The entire stake situation, burning. I love it. It's a very gorgeous thing. No, we do wish you all the best. Riding
hold on
your thingy on your. We're not going. I'm just.
I have one more.
I didn't even say.
Felt like you were
was
wrapping
no,
up.
you have to, because a boy wrapping up on a feminine-ish. What would that? I really do look forward to seeing you fly on a broomstick and go and arsenic. A poison, that makes sense.
I need an artist out there to actually create like a little graphic of Anita on a broomstick with like arsenic.
That's a
That'd be so cool.
you were about to say.
I was about to say, I'm not sure how open you will be to this, but say there's a guy out there that's listening, Gen X, Y, Z, whatever, and he's open to learning, but he doesn't know where to start. Are there any is there any literature, any media that you would recommend that they look to start off learning about feminism and about the oppression of women everywhere?
I think the best way to listen, the best way to learn is listen. So follow all the bad feminists, the ones that everyone hates. Those are the ones, because that like they hate them for always saying the truth, right? And Google is your friend, honestly. Like go on Google to answer every feminist question you have. Go read Bad Feminist. It's like the perfect book for someone who's just starting out. Yeah. Anyone who's like trying to learn about feminism, it's the perfect intro, honestly. Don't go read Chimamanda We Should All Be Feminists. Like, that is like the ABC of feminism. And plus, she's transphobic. So
She is?
yeah.
The fall of Chimamanda in the eyes of
Feminists.
You know, it's funny
has
because
been
I was
such a
listening
turn.
to an interview. Christian Amanpour, I think, was speaking to Chimamanda. It was something I just randomly stumbled on. And there was a mention about this trans situation. I don't know what she said. And I meant to look it up, but I never bothered.
Do it.
I feel like the universe is
It's
just
a
like...
very interesting.
It's a take. She's
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. But I really also do just want to say, internet is there. I always personally feel like we don't need to come up to someone and start asking them questions. Like, let people breathe. Just read a little bit. Just do Google, YouTube. Probably I recently saw something that said every college course we've ever done is on YouTube, and that is not
No,
it.
it is. It truly is.
God bless India for every man that I heard explaining engineering mathematics to me. Y'all got me through a lot. All right, are we good to sign out?
I think we're great to sign out.
All right, Nita, Red Witch, you've been a joy to have. I do feel the producers will have a lot to cut out because this really was supposed to be 10-15 minutes, but it's been such a joy to have you. All the best on your endeavors, and just keep doing what you're doing, friend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We look forward to bigger and better marches.
Yeah. We'll probably be in New
Possibly
York
with
next
you in
year.
attendance.
No, I'm coming to the next one.
better.
I
Yeah,
will
you
come
have to.
coughing and like with a
But
blanket.
no, you
I'll
should
make
come
it.
because we have like I think our next event is what we call Reclaim the Night. It's like an event where we basically remember victims of sexual violence that we've lost to sexual violence. So it's like a candle lighting ceremony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you
sorry.
have a date for that?
Yeah, do you?
We usually do that at the end of 16 days of activism.
Okay.
So that's like December.
Okay, cool. Are there any other things that you possibly might want to plug? Any foundations that maybe a possible listener could be looking to like assist?
Fund my work.
Better do it.
Fund my work. It's not cheap, guys. Like, there's no one makes money from being an activist unless they're stealing. I'm telling you.
Are you on LinkedIn? Do you have like
Oh yeah, I am. I
there
think
links to be done?
I feel like I'm such a like professionally, when I look at myself, I just feel like I'm everywhere. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I think you find me Anita K. Holland.
All right, guys, you better do what's right. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us and to answer our questions.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We hope we can have this conversation again in the future, and hopefully there will be more positivity going on.
The Gen Z boys are here, so I have faith.
No, I don't mean positivity in that sense. I mean more positivity in the fact that, there would be progress in the movement and you would be making
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
a bigger dent.
Like the fact that we have the young Gen Z boys, it means we've somehow cracked the code.
Yeah, there's learning going on.
Yeah.
Thank heavens.
All right, guys.
I'm going to bring my kids to you, my sons.
You should actually give feminist classes, but mostly underprivileged kids.
So how does one find themselves in one of these classes?
So usually if we're like right now, because we're doing like post-march activities, and so we're moving towards community-based programs, and so mostly we're focusing, before we would focus like on schools, like literally go to schools and tell them this is what we do, and we're trying to teach about gender equality and everything. And that's how like the time. So people actually just tell us what school they are at and what they need, and we follow and try and find funding for it.
Okay, cool. Do the schools ever come to you?
Some schools, yeah, they do. So sometimes we partner with different organizations like Sekas Zambia, and so they just provide us with everything, the students, and in like a space of 1 week, teach about 300 or 400 kids.
That's nice. I'm getting it at the grassroots. I have a 2-week-old nephew. I don't know how.
No, we start them
cool?
really young.
Yeah,
We start them really young.
Maybe you could.
By the time he's like a month, he's
My G,
saying,
I'm into it. He's just
feminism,
out
brand
here.
of patriarchy.
I feel like I'm more. Can we start them in the womb?
Let's
like-
step in before as the umbilical.
We have like a little feminist thing now, like we put it inside.
Yeah,
and
this is the
so we're
this is how
preaching
they
to the
get you.
children.
Love it.
Cool. We're trying to build the army. So the more the merrier.
Okay, friend. All right.
Okay, fantastic.
So much for being here. Catch us next week when we will be discussing whatever we will be discussing.
Yeah, honestly, you never really know. The only way to know is to catch the next episode.
Bye.
You have been listening to Coffee and Beans, a product of Avocado Media. For similar content, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our social media at Avocado Media ZM.